And for our next speaker, also someone from Sanoma, and we always love speakers from Sanoma. So if there's something you want to present on a next occasion, do reach out to Jelmer or to me, so we can hear about your story from work or from your pet project, rocket cars, anything else, space elevators. Please let us know. And this is actually also about a hobby project of
Yes.
yours.
Yes.
This is what you do when traveling the train back to Zeeland, or?
No, this is what I do on the weekends.
Ah, okay. Really good
When I'm the only one up in the morning.
Okay,
So.
cool. Take it away, Leen.
Yeah, if I can get this to work, because I think I have the wrong screen. What? Oh. I'm actually seeing it on my screen here. Where? And then? Hey! Okay, so this is about my pet project, which actually has a pretty long history. I've always been fascinated by maps, historical maps. So I've always looked at, I've collected maps and stuff like that. And back in 1987, I found this book in Utrecht, which is one of about 11, in a series of 11, which contains little maps of all the municipalities in Holland in the 1860s. So I got this book, I read it, I browsed through it a couple of times, and then I put it away again. Until about 13 years later, in 2000, I was doing some genealogy, which is also a hobby of mine. And on some of these genealogy forums, I saw that people were actually using these municipality maps in their websites. And there were actually people who were scanning these books and putting them online. So suddenly you have this whole collection of about 1,200 maps of all the municipalities of Holland scanned and ready to do something with it. So what is this municipality map? It's, whoops, where did it go? Give me a Windows machine. Command top. No, somebody else was saying I had to have a Mac. So where did my... Ja, werkt heel goed zo'n Mac. Recovery. Hey, there we go. Let's try it again. Got a search suggestion here. Yeah. Okay, so, okay. Use the arrow. Yeah, I did that, and then it just disappeared. Try it again. Due to an unexpected error, LibreOffice crashed. Okay. What? I have to do it like this. I could do it like this, I guess, if I can see where my screen is. Yeah, I can do it like this. Okay, so the atlas of, actually it won't work because I have some of these effects that won't work then. So. Oh gosh. spacebar? Whoa! Okay, so the Gemeenteatlas was published in 1871 by a man called Jacob Kuiper, who was a geographer and a cartographer. It consists of 1,200 maps of all the municipalities of the 11 provinces that we had then, and it was published in 1871. So all the individual maps sort of look like this. They center on a specific municipality, and on the outside you have the outlying area, which is less filled in than the central area. Also, the cards were printed in black and white, and then they were hand colored on the borders. And actually, there are also some copies that have actually the different types of land colored in like forests are green there and seas are blue. So we have 1,200 scans that look like this. So what could you try to do with this? Well, obviously, you could treat it as a puzzle. Because if you look at one of these, you see that there's an overlap with other municipalities. So what I was trying to do was actually, from the scans, get them into some kind of imaging processing thing and create a huge image of the whole, of a bigger area by combining these maps. But as soon as you try to do that, you run into problems because not all of them are on the same scale, because some of the municipalities are a lot bigger than others. They're all printed on the same type of paper. And also, as you start stitching them together, you sometimes you don't have any reference points, so they start to go off in all directions. So what you really need is something as a reference that you can use as a background, so you know that your positioning is still correct. So in 2005, Google came up with Google Maps, and instantly there was this worldwide map on the same scale that you could use where you could just take a bit of Google Maps and use that as the background of figuring out where all those municipality maps should go to make them fit. So using an imaging processing thing, you use a Google Maps thing as a background, put the thing transparently on top, do some scaling, do some rotating, and you get you look at some of the points that you know are still valid. So you look at things like rivers, canals, and churches. Roads not so much, because in 150 years roads do tend to change a bit. But you can actually get all of them more or less correct onto a reference map, at least for the ones I started with. So you start building up this whole thing, and you end up with go back one. You end up with a really big image of all these maps together. The next step came when I saw somebody who was actually working with one of the earliest versions of Google Maps and was trying to do all kinds of experiments, including one where he created his own tile set to use as a replacement from the standard road map or satellite view by actually using an image of an old map, cutting it into the same types of tiles that Google uses, and naming them in a specific way so they can be used as a tile layer within Google. So the next step I took was actually taking my map image, the big one, and getting a tool out to cut it into the same types of tiles. And fortunately, the tool I was using actually had an option of exporting images using an image slicer, which gave me sort of the right files and the right names for using them after processing them through a little Perl script as a map tile, as a tile layer in Google. So that became version 1 or 1.1 of my pet project, where we have a bit of Limburg, which has the drie landenpunt over here. So here we have the country now known as Germany, but then still known as Prussia. And this whole website is actually a static website. So it's just HTML, some JavaScript, and that's it. There's no database, nothing behind it. So we have a tile layer. On the left, I have a little tree with place names that you can click on, and if you click on it, the thing just zooms to the location on the map. And it's all hard-coded at that point, so it's very simple stuff. One nice feature was actually I had a little slider that I could just jump between the municipality map and change the transparency and go to an overlay of the road map, so you can see what's changed between then and now, or if you go in the other direction, you move towards the satellite view as a background. Well, after working on for a couple of years, you start to get bored a bit with just trying to build on it because it's basically still the same thing. You get a map image, you try to fit it in with the rest, and then you save it again, and repeating that 1,200 times. So while I was working on the map, you notice all these things that are described on the map, and you start Googling them. And then you notice that there are actually some books that are actually from around the same area that are describing exactly all the towns and all the neighborhoods and all the estates that you're seeing on your map. So an obvious enrichment is to put some markers on the thing that actually grab a fragment from some book and just show, you can click on it and you can read what's going on in this area. Or also, there's this book that has nice engravings of locations in Amsterdam, for instance, so you can put some markers on the map. So in that way, you get like an interactive view of the Netherlands as it was in the 1850s, and you can actually see what it would look like if you were standing there. So where did I get these engravings? Where did I get these fragments? Well, first I found some online, but then I decided, well, I have to go and buy this book myself. So I have I have 3 volumes of this, which is like 900 pages, and it has all these engravings. So you scan them, put them online, but I'm not going to type in the whole book. Right? And also, I was actually getting a bit fed up with this being a static thing, where I couldn't really do anything interesting with it anymore without completely redoing everything by hand. So it was time for a version 2, and by that time I had been introduced to Django, so I made it a Django project, where I had a data model consisting of the locations of all the towns. I wanted to have locations of all the municipalities as polygons, so I can see the contours on the map. Actually, I wanted, because now the initial version was like a single static map, so every time you came to the page, you came to the same view. There was no way to go to a specific thing, and also Google SEO things weren't picking up anything from the site. So I wanted to have a unique page for every municipality, but still having it as one application. So I needed some way to get all these municipality names in without it becoming a complete different set of pages. And also I wanted my book pages to be in the database, so I can have text searching and stuff on it. So the Google of the Django project actually works completely also with Ajax. But I'm using the history API to be able to start at a specific municipality, but as you start moving, it actually queries where am I in my view, and is there a different municipality on the location I'm looking at now. In that case, I'm going to change the URL, so if I refresh or come back to the page, I'm actually at the last location I was, more or less. As I said, I was not going to type in this whole book, but luckily Google came up with its Google Library project. So I have lots of external data getting pulled in, the town coordinates. Well, there's lots of places where you can get all the coordinates for all the towns in the Netherlands nowadays. There's actually a site that has the history of all the municipality changes in the Netherlands, where they assign a different ID to every instance, for instance, of the gemeente Amsterdam, whenever it changes by annexing or in the other way, they give it a different ID. But also, they have shapefiles that give you the borders of all these municipalities. And for the text and the engravings, well, the engravings I already did, but for the text of the thing, 2 of the 3 volumes are actually have been scanned by Google, and there's an OCR version available. So I scraped all these OCR files. Then I ran a little thing on it to actually find the references to the towns. Used some self-invented markdown version to actually say, okay, this is actually about this town. So then, maybe I should try switching to the browser. How the hell did my browser go? Let's just start somewhere. Double click. Okay, so this is what it looks like currently. You have the map on the left, you have the book on the right. And if I start at a specific municipality, like from the first screen, you can click on all the municipalities. It centers on the municipalities, it shows you the outline, but also it has these markers that correspond to towns within it. So then from the marker, I know what book page is about that town, and I show this on the right-hand side. And on the right-hand side, I have this little scrolly thing. And if I start scrolling, it starts loading it in the background, all the different pages. So what this allows you to do is you can read the book and look at the map, but also if you have these things with these hyperlinks. So if you click on those, it will jump to the town that it's about, which is actually an area I haven't done yet. Let's go up a bit. Actually, let me just try and refresh, because then I will be on the same one again. Because if it doesn't find anything, it will just go keep the last. So as I start moving around, you can see that every time I center on a different municipality, it starts showing the contours again. Also, you have these little markers. If I click on them, it should actually jump to the page that it's on. And here you can see that I can just click on the words, and then the map will just move to that area. So in doing this, I can just virtually take a tour of the Netherlands, either by reading through the book or clicking on the or using the map. Also, I still have this little thing where you can just compare then and now, which basically means that most of the landscape has gone and it's all been urbanized. And also, I have a little link here that shows some information about the current municipality, how many hectares it is, and how many inhabitants it has. Also, I link back to some of the people that actually provided the scans and the data for me. So if I zoom out, you can see that there's a lot of map And if I zoom out more, at some point I switch to a view of the provinces because all the books start with a map of the province. So at some point it just switches to another one. And also the scale here down there changes. So what's the state of the thing, if I can? I lost my. I think I lost it completely now.
Don't worry, just 2 minutes left.
Hey, there he is. Yeah. All these things were meant to be fast. But maybe I should have shut down my VMs before I did this. No torrents. No. Actually, the reason those books came out was the author of the books had been dead for 75 years. So that's why they had those reprints in the 1980s, because he died in 1910. So. Okay, so where am I? I have done 11,494 tiles of an estimated 18,000, which seems like I've only done 2/3, but that's not really true because I've done 1,000 maps of 1,200. And that's because the remaining area is the northeast of the Netherlands, which in that time was mostly wasteland and consisted of huge municipalities. So I've grabbed about half of the shapefile, so I have URLs for about half of the municipalities. And I've looked through 120 of the pages I've downloaded and corrected some OCR mistakes, and because it doesn't know stuff like the long S and stuff like that, they all do Fs. And I have the 137 engravings. So what more can I do with this? Well, in a previous version I did population density, because for every municipality I have the area and the population, so you can create little heat maps like this. I want to do a bug tracker because there's some places where I just made mistakes. And every time I find one of them, I think, oh, I should do something about it, but I keep forgetting where exactly it was. So I want to have some way of tracking, okay, there's this mistake over here and there's that mistake over there. And besides the municipality maps and the province maps, there are for lots of the major cities in the Netherlands, there's also city maps that show the individual buildings. And actually, I want to do something with another data set, which is the data set of all the buildings in the Netherlands. So if the building still exists, I want to be able to plot the contours of the building on the map, and you maybe click on the legend or vice versa, do something with that. So you could get something like this superimposed on top of that, which is the Bach data set. So, questions, remarks?
First of all, it's really awesome, I think. Really. And just a technical question. I saw that during your demonstration, I think it's not the Google Maps anymore.
No,
right?
it's Leaflet now.
What?
I'm using Leaflet with the OpenStreetMap behind it.
Okay.
Yes.
So so they are providing this API to merge your own.
Well, Leaflet is the JavaScript framework that allows you to do mapping, and then you have to create tile providers. For instance, you can use via Michelin or OpenStreetMap or any OpenCycle map. There's lots of different map sets that you can use as layers in your application.
So you just need to provide your images in a certain format.
Yes.
That's cool.
When are you going to have Street View for this?
Well, actually, I have a different project, which I haven't talked about now, which actually addresses this specific problem, which is...
If you now got a map from the 1700s,
I have.
you have to do all over again,
Yes.
like by hand?
Now, it depends, right? If you, I mean, there are other sites that have historical maps, like the cadastre has lots of topographical maps, but those maps are actually pretty easy because they're like correct, right? They're for a specific area. They're true to scale, so you can just click 4 reference points and it will automatically figure out where it goes. And where here it's all handwork because you have to worry about the things that aren't correct, and also all the labels sometimes cross the border. And if you superimpose a different municipality, you don't want to cut off the label. So it's all handwork basically. So if I wanted to do something 1700s map, yes, it would all be handwork unless they were topographically